Hello, the stream's going to start in a minute or two. Sorry about the delay in getting this up. I'm back at the workshop now. Yeah, there'll be action in about 1 or 2 minutes. I'm just waiting for anybody else to join in. And just going to post about it. All right. Oh, okay. All right, ready to go live with the stream. Give me yellow if levels are okay and things like that. Hopefully it's all going to be going smoothly. And I will step a little bit over to be in frame. Oh, yeah. Got a new streaming setup going because I'm back in the workshop. So first time I've done a stream from this spot. So yeah, you can see a little bit of my new space around me. Yeah, I'm going to be running through things we can do with the new modules today. So we'll start off focusing on some basic stuff with the chaos controller, and then we'll expand out from there. So if you do have any specific requests, give me a. Otherwise, we'll get into it now. Just wander over and grab my guitar. Smooth. All right. So I'm just got a basic little thing going on now, but we're going to add in the chaos controller. And then we'll just kind of expand from there. So I'll just clear this current preset. Yeah, if you've got any questions, just write them in. I'll get through to them. And tell me if if I'm getting in the road too much of the screen. I'll try and use it without getting in the road. So it's under control. It's the new controller, the chaos controller. So I'll add that. And we'll start off with just controlling some more conventional effects. So like a flanger or a phaser or something like that. Might try with phaser external first. So we'll connect up the audio for that. This guy, press that guy. Press that guy. And then, so this won't be actually, doing anything at the moment when we flange. We try and, oh, should run in stereo too. There you go. See, nothing's actually happening with the phasing because it's controlled by the external. So we're going to connect up the external control now. So the Chaos controller has a couple of different outputs. So it's got ones that are called T and ones that are X. So they're gates and voltages. So control voltages. So can't hear talking at all when not facing the mic. Okay. Thanks for general update. Damn you, directional mics. All right, I'll bring in the Omni mic next time. All right, is that slightly better? Can you now kind of hear me a bit more? I've also just, yeah, there we go. Is that a little bit easier to hear what's going on now? Fantastic. Okay. Okay. So I'll try and attempt to keep staring at the microphone if I can. Hopefully I haven't. Nope, I haven't put it in shot. Okay. So there's two main parts to the Chaos controller. You'll hear that see that there's a gate generator and X and Y. So these are values, whereas these are gates. So they're on and offs, basically. So they give you rhythm, whereas this gives you some kind of value that you can use for something, either a melody or some other control. So yeah, rhythms and melody or control values. So to begin with, we're just going to connect up one of the X outputs. I'm going to grab that and we'll connect it up to the phaser. We'll try just X output 1. And now the phaser will start to do things. We'll put our clock rate, that's quarter of the speed clock, normal speed clock, and 4 times as fast clock. We'll put it up to the middle. We'll change to random ratio because that's nice and easy to hear. And the first thing you need to probably notice is this X spread is usually down to the minimum, which means it doesn't actually change, it stays at the basic value. And we'll go to away from 2 octaves, that's better for notes. We'll go to the X spread one. Hopefully I was talking enough to the microphone just then. You'll see, yeah, I've gone to the X spread here. So I've cranked that up a bit, so we're actually going to get some movement. And the distribution bias in the middle, so it's going to get the whole range. And steppiness is there. We'll probably put that down to here so it's a little bit smoother. And now we'll start to get some phaser control. So I'll show a little bit of that on the guitar. So you can see how it's been modulated by those random kind of rhythms there. So if we want them to be totally random, we can, well, random, we can leave them to be like what's happening just there. But we can also introduce, you can use this button deja vu. We'll put that to some sensible length. And this will, you can lock either the rhythm or the X part. So the rhythm part is when an event happens, and then the X is the level of that event. So yeah, if we get a distinctive rhythm happening, we'll see that we had those doubling up bits then, and we'll continue to have them now because we've just locked that part in by pressing those two buttons on. So those parts are now locked in, and we'll keep having them repeat. So that deja vu length changes the length of the sampled chaos. If we turn this right down, you'll see it's just a single event. So it'll just stay at a single level, and then we'll start having longer sections. At the moment, you'll see that there's that deja vu probabilities set to the middle. In that setting, it won't introduce any new elements. It'll keep playing the same part. But if you change that, you can change how much new elements are introduced. So you can have a slowly evolving random thing, which, makes the random seem less random. Because if you've got a slowly evolving texture, then that's handy for giving it a little bit of interest, but not too much chaos. So that's why this is called the chaos controller, because it's not just random stuff. It's actually, it lets you put some order to the chaos. So, yep. The next thing, so these are the settings for the X voltage. You'll see that there's a few of them. So this is based off the mutable marbles module. That's a lot of documentation out there for that and some great videos on it that will explain in detail what some of these more confusing settings do. Obviously in our interface we've tried to make most of it clearer, but it's a pretty intense module, so there's a lot to understand and a lot to get into. So now that we've got something kind of more normal going on, we'll try and go for something weirder. So, because here in Steps Quantizer, we can also generate pitches out, a particular pitch, and then quantize them if we want. So I can show you how we do that for generating random melodies. So obviously you can generate melodies for a synth, for generating for like the any of the oscillators, but you can also generate them for the pitch shifter or the time stretch, which is the best pitch shifter. So yeah, I'll just show you any of that. Yeah, if anybody's got any questions along the way, feel free to pester me. Just ask in the thing. So yeah, I'll show you how to do that now. We'll add in one of the synth modules first. We'll show you that, and then we'll show pitch shifting. So we'll show a macro oscillator that we've all come to know and love. Put that guy down here. To control the level of that a little bit, we'll add in a wet dry blend maybe. case we want to do complicated mixing later. We'll decide. So we'll just connect these ones up while holding this. Out. Wet. Turn that level down, sorry. Let's turn that guy right down. That was louder than anybody wanted. That was so loud. Sorry about that. So, now that that is just doing its thing at incredible volume. Okay, sorry about the incredible volume there. I should have remembered that. So, we're going to connect up the T to that, and we're going to connect that up to triggers. Oh god, that was so loud. Yep. I apologize, that amazing volume. So, note to self, remember to turn that volume down before connecting it up. That is why you added the module. So, now we've got that connected up to the trigger, so you can hear when it's going off. And now we can connect up, for instance, the X3 output to the false per octave. You see it's doing continuous pitches now. It's moving through a pitch. So let's make it not do that. We'll go into the X voltage and we'll choose the smoothness. So it's choosing notes out of that scale now. We can change how many of the notes in the scale are. And then we can go back to continuous ones if we want to go to that. And don't feed negatives into the phaser. Just pull that guy out. And we'll put a slightly more interesting thing there. So these control which of the outputs follow these settings and which ones are inverted from these settings, so they're a little bit confusing. Oh, we've got deja vu on that. I was wondering why we're getting the same patterns. So now we're getting different patterns. So if you're ever confused about why things aren't changing when you expect them to change, you might have deja vu set on. We'll drop the wet drying into the output 3s now, so now that we have solved our briefly. Oh, okay, questions. Can this be used at the same time as the drum modules? Yes, it can. Yeah, so yeah, you can sync them up. So yeah, you can have random drums and random melodies. Obviously, you can also generate drums from these as well. I can also show you how to do that. So you see we're getting this pattern now that I've remembered to turn off the deja vu setting. So yeah, remember this is for looping things, so if you're getting only a small number of events or something, you might have forgotten to turn that off. And if you want to have some regularity, then that's good as well. So you'll see that we've dropped into that other scale now, so we're getting C minor now. So yeah, and drop this down for 1 second, then I'll drop in a drum module as well. First we'll try sequencing some drums from this, and then I'll show you what to do with the Y values and have a little bit more excitement going on. So actually we'll just duplicate this one moment. Duplicate you. So we'll just turn this macro oscillator into a snare. And we'll connect this macro oscillator out to the wet out. So obviously not doing anything exciting yet because we don't have a trigger on it. So send it T3 to its trigger. So now we're just triggering them with the chaos controller. So yeah, now those are triggered with that chaos controller. And we can make those have a bit more character by sending the Y values to there as well. So let's use this Y out. And timber maybe. And we'll turn out timber's modulation up. Oh yeah, they're blended on there. So now, yeah, we've got multiple things going on. We can have melodies. So we can have multiple melodies there if we want them to go together. Oh, sorry, I think I turned it down when it was the loudest thing in the universe. I'll turn it back up. So yeah, we've got that. The chaos controller is now controlling all of this. This percussive triggers is more drum-based kind of stuff. If we go up to these, we'll get. See, they sound more like traditional drum beats. This one's just a Bernoulli gate, so it's just more like a random, chooses this one depending on this bias. And this one does those interesting divisions sometimes, like especially if you push it here, it'll give you those doubles. Like those kind of patterns. I haven't talked about jitter at all. Jitter just makes the basic clock less regular. So currently the Chaos controller doesn't take in external clock because, well, it does, but it doesn't take it in easily. It doesn't take in time the same way as everything else does at the moment. That is the thing I'm going to add, which is currently a bit annoying because it's got this kind of more complicated clock system in it. You can trigger other stuff off it, obviously. So there's still a few features around external clock that's going to be added here, and the steps quantizer interface still needs to be improved a little bit, but yeah, those things are still on the list. See if we see how the melody becomes less variant there, and more extreme up at those ends. And we can bias which part of the melody we want to hear more of as well. If we push further into this section of the steps, it chooses less notes from the scale, so it's more likely to just play the octaves. Whereas here it's more likely to play the full chromatic scale. And then down here we'll get continuous pitches. So that's the Chaos controller. Oh, another question. The bias is controlling what actually? So there's a few different bits of bias here. This bias will control where the output gate 1, 2, or 3 is most likely. So 2 always happens at a set speed, and this bias controls whether 1 or 3 goes off. So if it's all the way here, you get lots more multiples on 1, whereas if it's here, you get those multiples on 3. And with the coin toss, see, we're just getting this now, because it's biased all the way to this one. This one. So it's the probability. That bias is the probability for this in this window. On these ones, the distribution bias, that makes one voltage more likely than the other. Or in the case of notes, one note more likely than the other. So if we push this down, we'll start getting lower notes more often. We push it up, we more often get high notes. So it's that probabilistic thing there. And the same for these ones. These have nice little pictures that tell you, see how the bias is going up, down, 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 down. Yeah, you can bind things. Anything that has the bindy picture next to it can be controlled via MIDI CC. So yeah, you can definitely bind to the things in here. Not everything currently can be bound. These ones should be bindable as well, actually, but there are extra CV ins for them as well, so you can actually control every single one of the things from a CV in. So you can have an LFO modulate that as well. So, might be enough for the Chaos controller for the moment. We'll drop this one out. We might mute these guys first. And we'll just drop this chaos controller out for the moment. And anything you can with the foot switches, you can connect any of those up to, because they can all take CV ins for all of their controls. So you can send the foot switches can send in CVs, so you can control any of them from the foot switches as well. So in case you want to bias it one way or the other, so that could be fun if you wanted to have like a drum fill. Then that would happen when you biased in one direction rather than the other. You could set the foot switch to trigger that drum fill. What is the best way to work out how to use all of the controllers? There isn't really an easy way at the moment. Poke at them and see what they do. Some of them, like that one, is based on the Mutable Marbles module, so there's lots of really great videos for that. There's a few modules that I've ported across from Eurorack gear, in which case they'll have manuals that go into really a lot of detail and depth, and there's lots of people who have done videos for that. There's lots of videos from a couple of different YouTubers, DivKid and Loopop. They have great videos on all of the Mutable Marbles modules that I've ported. Often I've just, Joe the designer at Poly and myself have tried to work out ways to make the interfaces clearer. So they're not always the identical type of interfaces, but they always try and get across all of the same features. I'll show the quantizer for a little bit now. We'll have a little bit of the quantizer, and then we'll get back to some more sane things. And I'll show how the quantizer can be used. Quantizer, and there's a step sequencer. So we'll connect up our step sequencer to our quantizer, and then we'll connect our quantizer to, oh no, that's the drum one, isn't it? Yep. So we've got two outputs here on the quantizer. One of them is the actual note, and one of them is whether the note changed or not, in case you want to only trigger when the note actually changes. So you can then connect that up to changed. We're going to connect this up to volts per octave, because that's the note. Yeah, notes are usually represented in Eurorack or modular gear as notes, as volts per octave. So anytime you see me mention in the interface volts per octave, it's the same thing as pitch. Usually it'll say pitch volts per octave. So now the steps. I might disconnect the drums for a sec. And then this will give us continuous pitches, because we're not going to have any triggers coming in. So So you saw as I added notes into the quantizer, it would snap that sequence into the notes that I'd chosen. So it'll just snap to the closest note that you've got. So we were getting more of that chromatic scale, or more of just the C scale as I pulled out the other notes. If I pull out all the sharps, we'll only get the C major scale. And I'm sending in a step sequence here at the moment, but you could also send in an LFO or any control source into there, random, to quantize any melody, even a random thing into it. So yeah, the random LFOs could do that as well. We'll just disconnect this guy. Got a continuous pitch now. And I'll put in an LFO and we'll get random ones. That's a bit intense. So because I've got it on the sample and hold, the random shape, it's now jumping between those pitches because they're going through the quantizer. So we're only getting those major scale notes in there. So yeah, that's one of the ways to do that. And remember that all of these controls can be sent to other stuff as well. So we've all been showing this with the oscillators, but let's show it with pitch shifting instead. So we'll pop that guy out. Goodbye. And we might leave that one for there later. So we're going to drop in a pitch shifter. Which is the best pitch shifter? Oh yeah, so the pitch shifter now takes in a volts per octave, a pitch signal as well, so you can shift based on any notes you've got. You can also then shift based on MIDI input. So if you're playing from keys, you can have a keyboard controlling the pitch shifting, which was a requested feature. Also, the time stretch, which is the better pitch shifter usually, will also do take in pitches from MIDI or from the quantizer or the chaos generator or whatever you want. So let's set up the time stretch to be pitch shifting. Drop that to the beginning. Turn the feedback down to the bottom. Size can be around there. Filter can be around there. Yes. All right. So we're just going to drop to right. Oh, I've got a stereo wet dry. We'll just skip the wet dry because we'll just go full volume anyway. Nope. So we've got our little pitch shifter in here. Just move out of the way. So we should be, we haven't got it set up to do anything exciting at the moment. We'll pitch shift down an octave first, just to hear what that sounds like. So we've got pitch shift there. We'll go the position all the way down so we get the beginning of the note. That's better. So you can fade in if you want by changing that position, which just basically chops off the start. Let's crank that one down. Size will basically give you quicker response, but won't handle lower notes better the shorter size you go, because it'll grab smaller sections and there won't be enough information on the smaller sections. So yeah, let's now we've got this little pitch shifter set up. We can now feed in our LFO and our quantizer into the pitch. And we'll get different. And you can the pitch that's there, the pitch that you set in here, this one, that'll offset the pitch that you input in as well, so you can shift those around if you want particular ranges easily. And obviously this is just from the sample and hold an LFO into the quantizer. We could do something more interesting with the chaos generator, because then we've got much more control over repeatability of the random, so it doesn't sound quite as chaotic. Yeah, so can't remember if we had the quantizer set to. We do major. Okay. C major. So yeah, we'll be getting those notes now. So yeah, you hear those pitch shifting happening there. So that's a pretty basic patch, just with the time stretcher and the quantizer. Obviously, you can set it up to just change when you play a note as well with the onset detector. You can have the onset detector run into the other step sequencer, so it can trigger it. You can change that, the step sequencer that takes in external input, so you can change steps based on each note you play. So yeah, that's using that quantizer. Obviously, it's easy to just type in whichever, tap in whichever scale you want for Western scales there. Yeah, so as far as arpeggios go, you can definitely use the step sequencer with that, and then trigger the step sequencer, run it for a bit, and then do that. Oh, a question. Can this do more exotic scales? I am introducing more. So this is the basic quantizer, and it just does Western 12-tone equal temperament. But obviously you can do some more crazy stuff, or less Western focused, which I will show you. So let's drop out this quantizer, and we'll drop in the chaos generator again, or chaos controller. How would you connect you? X1 to pitch. Now, and I'll change my speed up to that. So 2-octave range, some spread, smoothness is probably fine there. And deja vu is off, luckily. So what have we got here? Yeah, you asked for less standard scales. So we've got major, minor, pentatonic, peloch, which is a gamelan scale, and these two are both rags. So if you want to play, that's obviously a very limited set, but the idea is that I'm going to keep expanding. I'm contemplating making a quantizer that loads Scala files, so you can just have any scale known to humankind and make your own. But I'm not sure if anybody is actually interested in that level of bonkersness. But yeah, I quite like the idea of being able to pitch into other ones and shift these kind of amounts. So we'll just check that this one is doing its thing. How I step? Yep. Okay. Yeah, so you see we're shifting through pitches there. And if we choose the what's called rags, we'll then get different pitch shifts. And these won't be 12-tone equal temperament. I should probably run it with with the dry killed, shouldn't I? Because otherwise it'll be really discordant, I think. Yeah. It'll depend on which notes, because then we'll have to see if we've got notes in the scale we're playing versus scale that we're being transformed to. Yeah, so this is being just shifted fully into that rag, so everything I play will now be in that. It's a bit hectic. I prefer less range than this. So this has got a bit too much range for me now. How do we make that less extreme? We'll just turn down this X spread. I don't actually... So yeah, that's pitch shifted into that rag, so I don't actually know how to play very anything interesting in that kind of tuning, so... yeah, so if you do actually know how to play properly in these rags, maybe... But it does mean you so it's pitch shifting the stuff you're playing, so you should probably play in a key that would make sense to be pitch shifted to that. That sounds marginally more coherent. But yes, if anybody does actually do good sounding stuff with the other scales, I would love to hear it. I have only kind of started exploring the alternative scales recently. I added them in there just because I'm kind of interested in exploring non-Western based scales. But yes, I really don't know a lot about them at the moment. I'm going to try and add in some Arabic scales as well. yeah, so that's you know, how to do pitch shifting with this. Obviously, yeah, you can do major scale stuff as well, and conventional things. The cute thing about this versus a quantizer is also you can control how much range you want. Whereas with the quantizer, you'd have to control what the LFO is sending into it or whatever source you're quantizing. Whereas you can have that repeatability, so you can have random melodies. So one of the interesting things here is that if you choose T to be looped, you'll get the repeated rhythms, but the actual melody will keep changing. Or you can loop just the melody, but keep the rhythm changing, which is kind of interesting. We've gone back to major. So yeah, if we crank these up, we'll get exactly the same rhythm happening. Hand lock them. I don't know if it'd actually be easier to notice this. Yeah, I'll play the same bit and then you can probably tell. So we're getting that pattern. I might do this faster just so it's easy to tell. That they're the repeated pattern. So you can see that's now the repeated pattern. So yeah. So yeah, there you go. There's some of those ones. So I think that's the chaos controller and the quantizer shown, and how to control pitch now from external sources, either from MIDI or the internal CVs, or anything else. Yeah. So if you've got any other questions, I will answer them now. But otherwise, I think that's probably the new stuff covered. So my plans for the next few bits, we're starting to work on a looper, which Joe and I are designing, which is progressing. That is going to be sometime. The note-based sequencer is designed, and that's pretty easy to implement, so we're going to do that at some point pretty soon. There's other stuff on the big list. Oh, rings, the mutable instruments module rings, I'm going to port pretty soon because it's not going to take long. I'll just glance at my to-do list for other things on the list. Looper, Saturator, CV. Oh, and there's a few bug fixes, like Saturator needs to take in more sensible CVs. And I really want to make some changes to how envelope followers automatically detect levels and stuff. That would be just nice, so it's easier to set all that up. Oh yeah, and there's some special characters in impulse response names breaks things for some of them, so I need to fix that. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just... I'm just going to glance through the chat log, so to see if there's anything else. No. Cool. All right. So if you've got any other questions, always you can, there's the Facebook group has been really active lately, which is great. So yeah, posting on there. I'm looking forward to seeing any actually interesting patches with the chaos controller and the quantizer, and also just these new pitch modification stuff. Obviously, the chaos controller can be targeted, as I showed right at the beginning, to the phases, the flanges, the what's called harmonic tremolo, any of those things. So if you want some more conventional stuff, you can do that as well, and then make it a little bit more characterful than just a standard LFO on it. And you can combine these with the other controllers, obviously. Any Autobit Junior features coming? So I have one and I love it. Maris make great stuff. There is obviously the bit mangler in here. You could, of course, connect up the step sequencer to the bit mangler. The bit mangler gets pretty rough, so I'd probably it's just very brutal. So I'd probably make sure to put some kind of limiting after it, maybe the saturator. Then you could have some of those fun tones. There isn't a stutter or a sample kind of thing in here at the moment as a conventional one. You could do some of it with some of the looping modules. Some of the delay modules, because you can use some of them as loops. But I don't think it isn't really as elegant as a more dedicated stuttering module or a beat slicer. I have coded up a beat slicer and a stutter module, but it's not perfect yet. But yeah, that is on the list as well. So yeah, I plan to put in a more dedicated preset which would do those kind of also there is obviously sequences. Yep. But you can connect a sequencer up to the filters as well, which is one of the other key bits of that sound. So there's a range of different synth filters, and if you connect it up the synth filters to the sequencer, that's very much that kind of sound as well. It's very nice for kind of synthy bass parts as well. If you want to play your bass into a modulated filter, you can do that quite nicely with the sequencer. Yeah. Oh, did my main video just go out? I don't know how long ago the main video turned off, so... 1 second. I think, given that I've just run out of battery on the other camera... Sorry for not noticing that earlier. Yeah, I've just run out of battery on the main camera. So if there's any last minute questions, we'll answer them. Otherwise, I think that's probably the end of the stuff for the moment. for back-end action on that front. But I think that's probably the that's probably the extent of things for today. Thanks for everybody for watching it. I'll post things up online this afterwards. And yeah, if you've got any other feedback, I'm always keen to hear it. If you come up with cool patches with that, I'm also keen to see those. So thanks for watching.